Spring training is now officially in full swing, or almost, that is. Pitchers and catchers reported just a couple of days ago with the first full squad workout coming next week. We've got a lot of questions that the Astros certainly have answered and questions surrounding them. I'm going to be talking about it all throughout the course of this video, and plus, unfortunately, a sad moment that the news had broken out this past Thursday morning. Albeit it's not official, it's still sad to look at. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's get into the bad news first. The very first thing that was announced this past Thursday morning, although it's not official as of that day, it doesn't mean the ripple effects of Alex Bregman reportedly agreeing to a deal to join the Red Sox didn't reverberate throughout the Astros clubhouse before and after the first workout of the spring in West Palm Beach. To catch you guys up, Alex Bregman is reportedly signing a 3-year deal worth $120 million with the Boston Red Sox. Of course, the Astros had appeared to close the door on Bregman returning to Houston weeks ago, so I honestly saw this coming. And it was evident seeing that they had tried to trade for Nolan Arenado of the Cardinals and eventually landed Isaac Paredes from the Cubs in the Kyle Tucker trade to play third base instead. Cam Smith also came in that trade, more on him later, and he might see some playing time at third base, although a lot of MLB scouts these days see him as an outfielder. But there's no doubt that Alex Bregman's going to be missed this offseason because the void that he is leaving at third base, I mean, we can fill him with a guy in Isaac Paredes who can certainly play third base, but his impact off the field and in our clubhouse is what's going to be missed the most. And the Astros again had offered out Alex Bregman a 6-year extension worth $156 million early in the offseason, and that wasn't even the biggest offer in terms of money that he was given. The Detroit Tigers had given him also a 6-year deal, but worth close to $170 million, if not a little bit more than that. So still just shy of the roughly $200 million deal that he was certainly seeking, but obviously it was apparent that none of the teams out there were interested in paying him all that money. So, I mean, that was kind of a bad idea that he was trying to get all greedy and ask for that much money. But it shocks me that he's getting paid that little money when there were two teams in both the Astros and the Tigers that offered him contracts worth significantly more than that. Especially the Tigers had offered him the bigger of those two numbers, and they were going to be a big upswing team in the AL this year with Tyreek Skubal, who just won AL Cy Young. They've got former Astros skipper A.J. Hinch in the mix. And, I mean, they're just going to be a fun team to watch this year. So I'm a bit shocked that he did not sign with the Tigers. Because, like, if he had signed with the Tigers, then, I mean, everybody would be picking the Tigers to win the AL Central rather handily. I mean, I had the Tigers winning the Central before the World Series even started. He is one of 4 key members of the 2022 championship team to move on this winter, with Ryan Presley, Kyle Tucker getting traded to the Chicago Cubs, and of course Verlander walking away in free agency for the second time in the past, 2 years, But there's no doubt that he's going to be missed. Saying goodbye to one of the most popular cornerstone players in franchise history, a former number 2 overall pick in the MLB draft, quickly became a star, and like I said, was a cornerstone player on Astros teams that advanced to 7 consecutive ALCSs, culminating with 2 World Series titles during that span. Now, am I going to miss Alex Bregman? I mean, Now, of course, factoring that info in, am I going to miss Alex Bregman as much? Time will tell. But, I mean, for the time being, this one's going to hit pretty hard. But with that vent out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into a couple of injury updates that we've received as spring training gets underway here. Starting with Luis Garcia. I mean, he is obviously not going to be ready by opening day. I mean, I think the best case is that he might be ready sometime around the All-Star break, or after the All-Star break, rather. The same also can certainly be said for Christian Javier. We might see him as early as maybe early August, maybe mid-August, barring any setbacks. But again, we'll see. And then lastly, Lance McCullers Jr. He is in a very, very good spot after a near 2-year absence. I mean, he is currently throwing in the bullpen and expects to face hitters within the next few weeks during Grapefruit League spring training. But here's the TLDR. There appears to be a light at the end of the rehabilitation tunnel for Lance, who has not thrown a pitch in a big league game at all since Game 3 of the 2022 World Series, and that did not go so well for him. That's nearly 2 full seasons without pitching, and has only logged 47 2/3 regular season innings since the end of 2021 when he had injured his flexor tendon in the division series that year. He's thrown 7 times in the bullpen this spring, and that is encouraging, and he could also face hitters in the next couple of weeks, which is even better, which is even another reason to stay for us and him, of course, to stay optimistic. But he has not pitched a full season since 2021. He went 13-5 with a 3.16 ERA in just over 162 innings and finished 7th in AL Cy Young voting that year. He spent most of next season rehabbing after that. He underwent flexor tendon surgery in June of 2023. But little did we know that that procedure would end up being more complicated than originally planned. Now, of course, after surgery, the prognosis on the time was 15 plus months, which would have put his return at the end of last September, but his doctor who had performed the surgery told him it could take up to 18 months, and then the Astros were hoping to get him back for last year's stretch run before announcing it around that time before September that he would have to set back and would end up missing the rest of the season. Now, Lance was, of course, one of 3 Astros starting pitchers that the Astros hoped to get back from injuries this year. Luis Garcia, who had Tommy John surgery in May of 2023, is throwing off flat ground. He does not have a timetable for return. I'm hoping we'll see him this year. My best guess is that we could see him after the All-Star break. Could see him sooner than that, but we'll see. Now, Christian Javier, like I said earlier, we could potentially see him towards the second half of the season, maybe after the All-Star break as early as maybe early to mid-August. But like I said, we'll find out. Now, diving into some questions that are surrounding the Astros going into the spring, the biggest one of the bunch: where is the depth? The top of our lineup is solid, being anchored by Jose Altuve, Yordan Alvarez, newcomers Christian Walker, and Isaac Paredes, among others. They do have a solid 1-2 punch atop their starting rotation in Framber Valdez and Hunter Brown. You've also got Ronel Blanco in the mix there as well in that third spot. He was honestly our unsung hero. He had such a good spring last year, and then obviously he also had pitched during one of the Astros 2 exhibition games at Minute Maid before opening day, before Joe Espada told him he was going to be in the starting rotation full time. And he pitched okay in the starting rotation, but obviously as the season progressed, it became clear that fatigue for him was setting in, and he wasn't really pitching as well during the second half of the season as he did in the first half. So I'm hoping that that'll change this year, and he'll be able to maintain that consistency of being a good number 3 guy throughout pretty much the entire season, or as far as his body is willing to take him. Elsewhere in the back of our bullpen is being anchored by closer Josh Hader, who is certainly going to be looking for a bounce back season. He did, of course, have a good season in his first year with the Astros, but it certainly did not come with hiccups along the way, having a couple of blown moments. He only had 2 blown saves the entire season, which is good. But at the same time, when he was inserted into non-save situations, he didn't really look like himself. But hopefully that'll change this year, and he'll be able to be, himself, whether he's thrown into a save situation or a non-save situation. But outside of that, the depth does raise some concerns. Are we going to get enough offensive production from their outfield? Who's going to step up at the bottom of the rotation and give them some depth outside of the 5 starters? And probably more importantly, who's going to be picking up some of the key innings lost with Ryan Pressly now with the Cubs? It's becoming more and more obvious that the Astros are going to be having to count on a lot of their inexperienced arms this year, and that's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. The second question that's going to be surrounding the Astros is what position battle are we going to be keeping an eye on? There's no doubt that the trade of Ryan Pressly to the Cubs just a couple weeks ago has certainly opened up a few key innings in the Astros bullpen that need to be filled. We've got Josh Hader in the closer role, like I mentioned earlier, and Brian Abreu being an elite setup man, so he could be your 8th inning guy, like I mentioned earlier. Taylor Scott also did a great job last year, posting a sub-3 ERA. He could certainly be your 7th inning guy. But otherwise, you're looking at us, again, counting on some guys like Sean Dubin, Caleb Ort, Brian King, among a lot of other guys. Like I said earlier, the Astros are going to be counting on some inexperienced arms this year in the bullpen, which is something that has been a huge, huge strength of ours for many, many years. Now, the next question is, who is going to be the prospect to watch this year? And I think the short answer to that is Cam Smith. So Cam Smith, a couple of weeks ago, was described as an aircraft carrier by Dana Brown, which I thought that was kind of funny. He is with the Astros at training camp as we speak. He had arrived with the pitchers and catchers when they reported there a couple days ago. He could quickly move through the Astros minor league system, and will certainly see plenty of playing time this spring at third base, although a lot of MLB scouts, like I mentioned earlier, could see him as an outfielder. So we could see him out there, but I kind of think on days when Isaac Paredes isn't available, he should certainly get some reps out at third base. But nevertheless, he's currently the Astros' top prospect in our prospect system coming over from the Cubs in the Kyle Tucker trade. He definitely has all of the physical tools and prowess that an MLB player, at least in my eyes, certainly needs. And he could quickly go through a minor league system and make it to the big leagues this season. I'm hoping that's the case. And I mean, honestly, the more productive he is this spring, then the sooner we could see him in the big leagues. I mean, do I expect him to make the roster out of training camp? Probably not. But again, we'll see. Lastly, which player has the most to prove? And I think the answer to that would be Chas McCormick. He had a miserable year last year, and I mean, I would not be surprised if he would be the first to admit that. He had career lows across the board last year after posting good numbers in the 2 years leading up to that in 22 and 23. He's going to have a lot to prove himself this year, taking over for a 3-time All-Star in Kyle Tucker as the starting right fielder. He has made some changes to his swing this year, but he does understand that the role that he is in and that he needs to put up some good offensive numbers to go along with what is already some pretty good defense. The questions surrounding the Astros outfield depth begin and end with Chas McCormick. Plain and simple. But anyway, guys, I think that's pretty much going to do it for this video. Those are a lot of the key headlines and questions that the Astros are going to be having going into the spring. Let me know your thoughts on how the offseason went for the Astros and stuff that you would probably expect to see. This has not been the dream offseason for the Astros that we have seen like in recent years, with us losing Kyle Tucker, Alex Bregman, and of course Justin Verlander. I mean, us losing Yusei Kikuchi is a bit concerning. That does lower the Astros starting depth a little bit. But at the same time, considering that we had gotten starting pitcher Hayden Wesneski from the Cubs in that Kyle Tucker trade, we could certainly see him make the starting rotation. If not, I mean, I would hope he might get some reps down in AAA. I don't know what his major league experience is these days. But nevertheless, let's give Dana Brown his flowers for this offseason. Although it has not been the dream offseason for us, I mean, I do still think he has managed the short-term and long-term goals of the Astros marvelously. The first being is that he made Alex Bregman that $156 million over 6-year offer that had exceeded Matt Chapman's offer of $151 million also over 6 years, which he had agreed to last August. Obviously, of course, he accepted a much lower offer from the Red Sox, or at least that's reportedly the case. Again, not official as of when I'm recording this video. But he also did recognize that after Juan Soto had signed what is the biggest contract in professional sports history at $760-something million, he had realized that Jim Crane would not even come close to Kyle Tucker's asking price this upcoming offseason, and decided that he would want to move on from him now and actually get something from him instead of letting him walk away for nothing like we've done in years past. So that was a good move. And of course, with that trade, he had acquired a potential Bregman replacement in Isaac Paredes, and also, of course, a replacement for Tucker himself, and also Cam Smith, who, again, could also play at right field, if not at third base. Now, Chas McCormick, like I said earlier, is probably going to take over as the starting right fielder, and, you know, like I said, Cam Smith is certainly a great outfielder. And, I mean, we'll see where he does end up playing it if and when he does get the call to the big leagues. But, you know, we'll see. The fourth thing, of course, he did was that he bolstered the lineup with, and of course, our defense at first base, a position that the Astros were bottom 10 in the majors in OPS, and which was not good. But he bolstered the first base defense with Christian Walker on a $60 million 3-year deal, which didn't force him to overcommit on a 4 to 6 year deal on top of the outfielders like Santander and some other guys who were on the market. And also alongside that, the Astros, I mean, trading Kyle Tucker was not the only trade that they did between them and the Cubs. He was able to also facilitate some payroll relief. Yeesh, man, that's a mouthful. By trading Ryan Presley to the Cubs and after getting him to waive his no-trade clause. Yes, the outfield is definitely worrisome this year, but he still has plenty of time to address it between now and the mid-season trade deadline. So we'll see we'll see if we address it in what's also available to us. And also, what kind of assets do we have to give to get a good caliber out? So, like I said, not the dream off season, but I think Dana Brown has managed the short and long-term goals of the Astros in a good way. And I'm excited to see, I'm excited to see our boys perform in spring training, which is going to start in I think just 2 weeks from when I'm recording this video. So I'm excited for that, but it's going to be a little bit different for me. I don't know how many games I'm going to be going to this season because my best friend Sammy, who you guys have seen in a lot of my recent videos, if you've been subscribed to me for at least the past year or so, she has been in a lot of my Astros fan reaction videos. She, of course, was in my last Astros video from Astros Fan Fest, but again, she actually had to visit me. But there will be plenty of reaction videos for, the games that I do go to, both in person at Daikin Park, and then hopefully also more reaction videos coming to you guys live from here at home, here in the man cave. Because, I only did one Astros fan reaction video all season last year in this room, and I'm hoping to do more. I think this will be the final video that I post of the off season. We'll see what kind of events unfold for the rest of the off season. But I think the next video you guys are probably going to see is going to be our spring training opener against what I think might be the Nationals on February the 22nd. So, which is actually a week from today, not 2 weeks from today. So, yeesh, man, the off-season kind of flies by a little bit, doesn't it? Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you want to see more. And if you want to watch any of my other videos, click these cards here that are above my shoulders. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed, like I said, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Go Astros.